Hello and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host Brian. We're going to do something I like to call Sounds from My Inbox, where we check out four smaller bands who have emailed me and asked me to check out their music. We do a little bit of spotlighting on them, a little bit of analysis, mostly just casual listening and being able to explore some new and upcoming bands. Interestingly, three of these bands we've had on the channel before, back when we used to call this Creator Request. So let's dive into the first one, called Stain the Canvas. We're going to be looking at a new single that came out just last month. I was going to say last year, just last month, called In Reverse. See what they're doing today.
Gave you my chocolate heart, baby. Guess I thought you cared. But you got rid of it once you look inside, and so it's rotten.
Very bouncy and staccato. Yeah, throwing that triplet feel in there. You know what's really cool is they remind me of very early. I can't think of the band name off the top of my head, but they're a band I like. Very interesting contrast between the verses and chorus. Oh, Get Scared. That's the band. Really great energy on that compressed clean. The last syllable of reverse. The heavies over the cleans, so good. Very clean drum fill there. There's still a minute left, but I think the song itself is over. I think this is all music video stuff. Yep. So yeah, that was a blast. I really love the division between the two sides of music. Our chorus is 100% emo, something in the modern metalcore realm. The guitars, purely textural and harmonic. They give us our chord progression, same with the bass. The bass gives us a little bit of a rhythmic flow that lines up with the drums. It's all very functional music, something we see often in this kind of music. Absolutely works though. The textures that they're crafting, the heaviness, the weight, the grit plays really well against the clean vocals in these sections, the full bodied, belted, clean vocals that we get. All of this, of course, juxtaposed with the verse, which is anything but. I don't think juxtaposition really states just how different these two sides are. The verse is, what genre would we call this? It's very electronic, but it's not like uh, IDM or trance or house or anything like that. The electronic elements are all designed for atmosphere. Everything is embellishment almost. There is a music box sound that kind of gives us a little bit of a harmonic flow behind everything, but it's quiet and it's so far down in the mix. All the primary sounds that we can hear are, well, ornamental. They're not consistent throughout. They're designed for a specific moment, these two or three beats of this bar, and then we don't hear that sound again. Or if we do, it's used in a different setting. It's bounced off of a different idea. It's all designed in a way to make the verses themselves feel linear, which they are. Aside from the one music box loop, everything exists outside of a loop structure. And they all are designed to benefit what the vocals are doing. It would not surprise me if the vocals were laid down first and then all of these electronic elements were added alongside it afterwards in order to embellish specific lines and ideas. Um, it's not a brand new way of doing this. It sounds very unique, clashed up against the chorus, though. I will say that I enjoy both sections on their own. I think they do connect on some higher thematic level. There is a darkness to both sides that does connect them, but as we saw coming in from our second verse into our second chorus, it sort of is, we're doing one thing and then we're doing something totally different. It's even more jarring than, say, a metal song that just moves from one riff and drum pattern to another without any transition between them. That's jarring in a way that the ideas don't flow. This is jarring in that the ideas are two completely different things. I don't think it's a bad thing at all, but I do think that they transitioned between the concepts the first time and the third time a lot better than that second. And the very jarring stop, I think it was like a beat of silence moving from one to the other, was disruptive. And maybe that's the point of it too. Maybe we get to the lyrics and the lurch from one idea to the next is what's going on in the lyrics as well. It could work very well on an artistic level. But I did find that the other transitions, at least to me, had a bit more smoothness to them that I enjoyed more. Um, and then there's just the general layering with all the vocal work and the electronic melody lines that got overlaid on the vocals sometimes. It all just sounds great. I love the layering of the harshes against the cleans. The vocals are what shine for me, but they're also the most diverse here, and I tend to really like contrast. So I enjoyed Staying the Canvas last time we had them on the channel too. So I don't remember if I checked out their album, but it seems like their new one is coming out soon. At least when this aired on October 6th, there was a pre-save the album link. Oh, November 17th. So it's out now. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna have to check that out. As usual, here's another album I have to get to before the year's over just in case it makes it onto my album of the year list. I'm gonna take a second to find some lyrics and then we're gonna push on to the next track. Really cool notes. While I was finding some lyrics, I also discovered that Stain the Canvas has a song that features Get Scared. So I do think they sound very similar, especially older Get Scared. Um, and I gotta hear that song later because it just seems like a really great match. Lyrically, the song is about continuously falling for a bad relationship, toxic relationship. It says, I gave you my chocolate heart because I thought you'd care, but you got rid of it once you looked inside and saw it's rotten. So there is that part there that he states that he's not the greatest either. My heart's rotten. You didn't want it either. But there's also, he states, another victim. What's the matter? A lot of hearts you gotta shatter. You're creeping and lurking like a sadistic hunter. No asking, just demanding. For health, I've been striving. For hearts, you've been starving. Just generally speaks about this other person as a heartbreaker. They go through people like food. It sustains them to steal their hearts metaphorically. And so neither one of these people are free of blame here. But the thing is, he states at one time, I've tried to learn to love myself, but I can't get you out of my head. As much as he knows this person isn't good for them, as much as he knows this person doesn't even care for him, still wants to be with them. The bridge says, I keep telling myself it's going to be different this time. Yeah, it's going to be worse. I love that. It takes that tried and true phrase. Yeah, it's going to be different this time. And yeah, runs with it. It is going to be different. It's going to be worse. And just the acknowledgement. Yeah, it's going to be worse, but I still want to give it another try. Just really speaking to how broken our main character is here. All right, moving on. We have the only track today from an artist that hasn't been featured on the channel before. This is Knight's Amore. We're looking at the song The Final Rite of Death. Let's dive in and see what's going on. So we have a 6 pulse.
That's fine for most people. What if I'm one of those who doesn't? What might look peaceful from the outside does not necessarily reflect the internal mental state of the person.
Why did that sound like Jordan Peterson? Now the title of this video on YouTube says sad music, Dash, The Final Rite of Death? I thought sad music was a descriptor of it. It might be part of the title. So far, the music hasn't been too sad, though. There's a lot of compression at the top part of the volume here. Has a very sharp tone. I like the idea right here, and the embellishments sound great. It could do with a little bit of EQ tweaking though. That was interesting too. The violin got louder when the piano cut out, almost as if it was being sidechains with some compression. Interesting technique there.
At this point, you know, I've got two choices. I either actually go through with it, or I say, you know what, I'm too scared right now. I don't want to do it. If I go through with it, I die, as I must at some point. If I don't go through with
The
it,
bird sample?
my choice is essentially to suffer and to inflict suffering on my family. And then die. Possibly in a way that is considerably more stressful and painful this way.
The samples are quite distracting from everything else going on.
I've got suffering and death. Well, gee, you know, this makes a whole lot of sense to me. I am dying. There is no sense in trying to deny that fact. Nor my conviction that the end of my long journey through life is rather close. Rather surprisingly, I find that I feel much the way I imagine immigrants.
The juxtaposition between the music that's playing and the spoken word,
In the 19th.
it's thematically clashing for me in a way that feels a little absurd.
I cannot stay where I have been.
This is working a little bit better. The last 4 bars were an odd choice.
To a destination of which I have only heard the vaguest rumors.
This is solid.
It's only when it might ease somebody's suffering that all we can't play God comes out. You know, the fact that I know the date I'm supposed to die simply makes definite what was previously indefinite and unknown.
The danciness of that.
But it's still the case that
Yeah, the lead piano line
the
here.
only thing you've got
Once again, it's a really interesting choice.
is this second. Right now I'm alive, and if I can enjoy what I'm doing now, if I can feel that it is worthwhile, that's really all I can ask of it. And we've got a lot of the orange blossoms of those tall plants.
The dusty willow is very
It's
pretty.
just incredibly large.
It has that smell.
Does it?
Yeah, would you like to take your thing off
Yeah, take
and
it.
try to get the smell? Shall I turn it off? We'll see if you can go for a while.
Hmm.
Can you smell it?
Interesting. So, I want to start with the good, and then we'll get into a bit of criticism. And it didn't really have lyrics, so we'll just move on from there. Here's the thing, individual sections sound fantastic. The opening dance section I thought worked really well at pairing some traditional instruments with electronic sounds and creating strong melodies on top of beats and grooves. I like the consistent use of the groupings of three throughout this track. I don't know if there is a theme to that, but three appears a lot of places in here, even though all of our time signatures, I believe, are 4/4. So we're primarily looking at triplet ideas in many of the background sections. Um, if we ignore the movement between all these ideas and we look at each of them in isolation, there's really great concepts in each of them. As I mentioned, the dance part at the beginning is really nice. The layering that we had around the middle of this track with the two piano parts and the strings in the background and the lead violin doing ornamental stuff on the outskirts of everything, it all works really well. There at the end, beautiful piano lines alongside engaging chord progressions. We weren't looking at just simple 4-bar loops all the time. I also enjoy a lot of the spacing and phrasing in this track. The melodies tend to linger at times, holding on to notes or even pausing to jump back in and continue an idea. The way that everything moves has a real human element to it, and at least to me, it showcases that the composer has a strong grasp on piano playing, and not just virtuosic piano playing, but something rooted more in classical. I'm not sure quite what era of classical this would be related to. It's certainly not Baroque. It has elements of Renaissance in it, but I wouldn't really call it Renaissance either. Maybe it's contemporary, is what we would call it. Um, Regardless, they're well versed in this classical piano work. There's some really nice chord progressions, the melodies are gorgeous. Where I think the song falls apart is just in how all the ideas end up getting connected, and ultimately the spoken word stuff. I think that's supposed to drive the story along. This person who contemplates suicide, weighs his options, decides that life isn't worth living in the sort of pain and torture that he's in. But eventually, I couldn't catch why, but eventually chose not to commit suicide or maybe survive the suicide and came out the other side with a renewed appreciation for life. That's the general gist I got out of the spoken word, and I think the music kind of lines up with that. but I also find that the spoken word disrupts the musical ideas more often than not. And when we had just the spoken word without any music, I found myself a bit. I lacked engagement with the piece. I think there definitely could be a bit more balance between it, maybe cutting down as much of the spoken word. I think there are several sections that sort of just added on to ideas that we already covered and wasn't necessarily a core component to understanding the story that was being told here. I also think the music does a fantastic job of telling its story on its own and doesn't need the spoken word, though I'm not the author and it's quite possible that they disagree with me. Regardless, I do think the music moves between, well, interestingly, primarily just elation. There's joy and awe in almost every moment of the song. Somber moments come sparsely and are fleeting, quickly replaced with something a bit more vibrant. Whether it's just faster moving that doesn't complement a more somber atmosphere, or chords and harmonic ideas that represent something a bit brighter and more positive. I don't know if this is supposed to undermine the narrative. It certainly feels like it's an opposition at many times, but maybe that's the point of it, as a bit of foreshadowing to the end when we see that the dark thoughts were not did not win the day and this person survived on to appreciate life. Again, I'm not sure what the intended purpose is here, but there is this, you know what it reminds me of? What was that band we just checked out recently? And I mentioned, oh, it was Frost, where like the anytime the lyrics came in, it was dark and heavy and gritty, and as soon as the lyrics left, all the music was like bright and energetic and epic. Yeah, this kind of reminds me of that, where the vocals just aren't that in tune with what the spoken word just isn't that in tune with what musically wants to be approached here, which is not a heavy or depressing or somber track at all. It dips its toes in that occasionally, but for the most part, it's a very bright, energetic, light track. It's interesting then again that the title of this video, sorry, is Sad Music, The Final Rite of Death. I don't feel that this is a sad song in much capacity, but I don't know. I still think it has really strong points. I think any one of these ideas could be extrapolated into something that is tangential to it rather than tangential to this story of somebody contemplating suicide, and it would create a fantastic song. What we get here is something that's a bit closer to art music, where you have to follow the narrative and try to figure out what the music's supposed to be doing in tandem with the spoken word and sometimes in contrast to the spoken word, and the music doesn't really stand too well on its own. Though I still feel that with a little bit of tightening, this song could do very well without the spoken word and putting more weight into the musical storytelling going on. Either way, I think that this is an artist I want to keep an eye on. I still love their piano work. I think that their harmony work is great. Their layering is fantastic. It just need a little bit more time and experience with writing music to create something I think that ends up being functional on every level. All right. Moving on, we're going to check out AVELION, which, like I mentioned, is a band that we have had on the channel before. The track we're looking at today is called Alone in Time. Came out a month ago, October 13th for this one. Let's dive into this. Okay, this is starting nice. Very cool. I was about to mention how the guitars were playing all of 3 notes. And so the keyboard has given the guitar the moving line and has shifted to chords. Interesting shift there. Nice layering on the vocals. Shifted off to a 3 or a 6. Love that synth line. Ooh. Vocal is really belting on that last section. It's a bit catchier than I was expecting. Going for a breakdown. Real fun playing around, chopping up their ideas. Bring in a choir. Yeah, real fun staccato synth lines. They do a lot of that too, flipping down to a halftime and then returning back. Oh, bring a little bit of bluesiness in. Didn't use that anywhere else. full energy on this final time through here. I haven't had that anywhere else either. Just beautiful clarity on that final note. Yeah. So I greatly enjoyed that. Here's my big takeaway on this one. This band knows how to build a song. And what I mean by that, well, I said the wrong thing. So let's back this up a second. This band knows how to build a section. And I think this is really great. They understand that you need your bed, your foundation, they're kind of the same thing, and then your lead elements, and then your flourishy stuff. They are fantastic at knowing how to flip everything around to accommodate this. Just in our opening, like 45 seconds, we got to see the lead get passed between the synths to the guitar to the vocals. And as it got passed around, the instrument that had the lead previously now took up a new foundational line. What I thought was really cool about this is that they ensure that nothing ever feels empty. When the guitar is soloing at the beginning, there is a backup guitar part, but it really isn't that prominent in the mix, and it's because the synthesizer has taken over the guitar's role. It's not playing the exact same thing the guitarist would have played, and of course it has its own timbre, but it's filling in that same void, that same pocket. And so by knowing what instruments should be doing what at any given time, it allows everything to be built up in a very similar manner. All of these sections are almost identically crafted. There's certainly nuance and flourish and ornamentation to all of them that differentiate them. And of course, they have their own riffs and ideas behind them as well, their own melodies, but they're all built up identically. So to pass an idea around doesn't really change anything. You just alter who's doing what. And they have three lead instruments. The bass never takes lead, and the drums, for the most part, primarily play rhythm. They don't. They have a couple of really nice fills that sort of act as ornamental ideas, but for the most part, very metronomic, very just laying down the tempo. Sometimes with a bit more flourish, but nothing really nothing really melodic being done in here. Just really solid, sitting in the pocket, being that foundation for the band. And the bass, they sort of sit between both worlds, giving us some moving bass lines, but primarily giving us accent patterns that provide the rhythmic structure, as well as playing with the chordal structure. Very much in the vein of a jazz bassist, just with rock-oriented ideas here. So it really is up to the vocals, the guitar, and the synth to decide who's doing what at any given time, and they pass these roles around frequently. The only thing that doesn't get passed around is that the vocals never do anything that's not lead. They just do a fantastic job at this, and it all feels so effortless. As I mentioned at the beginning, within like the first minute, we've gone through three different ideas with three different instruments taking the lead, and it all just flows. In fact, this entire song just flows, and it's because of this core concept here of understanding what came before, what we're going to, and how all these roles are going to interact with each other. If one person takes up a new role, their old role needs to be divvied out to someone else. And through that, they just craft a song that feels great at all times, constantly moving through solid ideas. And I think that really is the best foundation you can have. They do a lot of cool stuff. We're going to get into that in a second, that I think elevates them above their contemporaries as well. But just having that rock solid foundation of creating strong ideas and moving between them already puts them at a phenomenal point in order to progress and expand and mature from. They also do really great with embellishing ideas. There are all sorts of places in here where I think a less experienced band might not have done anything. It sounds fine. You have your riffs, you have your lead, you have your vocals, you have your drums. Why do anything to change this? And you'll get these little one-off ideas, a single beat's worth of, well, like a series. It's almost like the guitarist like lightly muted, not a full. Well, yeah, it'd be a mute, right? That's yeah. But like a harmonic mute, and just runs down the entire set of strings with this harmonic mute idea going on. It just sounds cool. Was it necessary? No. Did I even hear it the first few times? I don't know if it was there. I certainly didn't. I picked it up at near the middle of the song, and it was repeated at the end, so I assume it was also repeated at the beginning, but I didn't even hear it. But did they include it anyways? Yes. Little stinger ideas coming from the synthesizer, the keyboard player, underneath the guitar solo in the bridge. Was it necessary? No. Did most people hear it? Probably not. They're listening to this dude shred over here. But they added it anyways. If you hear it, it adds so much depth to it. If you don't hear it, it's still adding that depth, and maybe you're hearing it subconsciously. There's so many moments like these. Additional notes coming from the bass. If they're doing constant quarter notes, putting in a little eighth note run in the middle of it. The drums just have these really great fills that they'll throw in every once in a while. The vocals have the expanded layering that goes on every once in a while, and they're at the end after after the entire song, 7 minutes of music almost, and we have a secondary vocal track that repeats. He says a line, and then we get one off to the side that repeats it. He didn't do this in any of the other choruses. They decided to do it here at the end. Does it add anything? Yeah. Most people hear it? Probably not, especially since it's the final chorus. You already know what to expect. You're not really paying that much attention anymore. It's these little bits that really take them from like a 7 and put them up to like an 8 or a 9. And the production's solid, the performance is solid, everything's just great. They have a rock solid foundation, and they're building off of it. I really think AVELION, they just got to keep at it. They got to find that one break. It says they only have 1,000 subscribers, which is abysmally low for what they're doing here. That kind of blows my mind. But I don't think this is a matter of skill. I think it's a matter of being found. Because everything in here tells me they could easily be a dream theater for the next generation. And they just haven't been found yet. Let's hit some lyrics. So this is a triumphant song about always putting your best foot forward and remembering that even in the darkest times, there's reasons to get up, press on, and push forward. I believe is the chorus, I could be wrong, says, when I fight this broken promise, I still believe in sorrow. I'm alone, but will rise. Keep it stuck or let it be. We can't act like the world is over. Rise. We collide to change. What can another story teach us? We can't stop this energy. The world will not fall down. It says, time is running over me, turning dust all of my dreams. Take me to a new beginning. There's a lot in here that went a bit over my head, and there actually are quite a bit of lyrics to it, but I believe that's the general gist of it. And I believe it fits well with the music. It's very energetic, driving, pushing forward. There's a attention to several parts of it, but the chorus has this big uplift to it. It's a big moment of, just hang in there, and we'll get it all taken care of. That kind of vibe. All right, we're gonna wrap this up with our final video today. Once again, we have checked them out on the channel before. This one's called Inside Her. We're going to look at the track called All the Dreams. You had me at a sax. Okay, what? This is not what I was expecting for some reason.
Unusual for me, was for you do. Just a glance without exchanging views. Please don't spoil it again, let it be as it is. Invisible to the world. Invisible to the world. To the world.
Okay. So we have bass, synth, drums. I don't think I hear a guitar. And 2 vocals. Quarter notes from the drums. Alternating bass and snare. Very synthwave. The effects put on the vocals too. We have the harmonized vocals there, and then the second time through here, we're gonna have a bit of call and response. Two different, not really call and response, more of counterpoint. There is a guitar here though. I love how the guitar just keeps going. All right. I mean, that's just a solid track right there. It's an interesting combination of sounds, bringing in more of a synthwave element for the intro and verses, and more of a rock sound for the chorus and bridge. I do think it ends up working rather well, though. Where they kind of meet and blend into one another works. Transitioning from the synthwave to the rock chorus to the guitar solo, I thought is seamless. I didn't really have any issues. It wasn't until I started thinking about it, I'm like, wait a second. These are not sounds I'd usually hear together. But in the moment, it just works. I found a really great way to combine all the sounds. Even the guitar solo towards the end, I started to pick up on the timbre of it, and it feels a bit electronic, almost synthy. It still has enough of the guitar bite to have that rock electric guitar distorted feel, but it's spicy in a way that feels like a synthesizer. And it sort of bridges the two worlds. It wasn't jarring to hear from a guitar, especially a lead guitar moment, but it fit in where the synthesizers took back over afterwards. It really wasn't like we changed anything at all. The drums are very functional. Nothing wrong with that. It fits the style of music here, but there's not a lot to discuss regarding that. The bass sort of fits in that same realm, keeping the time with everything else. I think the big thing that stands out to me here are the dual vocals and the saxophone. I kind of wish we had more sax. We had it in the intro and outro. Sax plus synthwave just sounds good every time. I did like the vocal variety here as well, though. I thought since it's the only lead instrument aside from our guitar solo, it was nice to have the variety there of the really low male vocals, the male screams, and then the female vocals, uh, jumping back and forth between them, sometimes overlaying them, sometimes doing counterpoint between them. Just a really great way to introduce a bunch of variety sonically to your lead elements. It is a rather simple song compositionally. I don't think I have anything else to say about it, but it does do what I believe it set out to do rather well. I'm going to hit some lyrics and we're going to wrap this video up. And I couldn't find any lyrics, so instead we're just going to wrap this video up. Those are my thoughts on Stain the Canvas, Night's Amore, Avelion, and Inside Her. What are yours? Let me know down in the comments if you enjoyed any of this, if there's going to be anything that you're going to keep on your radar, or albums that you're going to go out and check out immediately. If you have any opinions or perspectives on any of it, put all that stuff down in the comments section. Above that, in the description box, usually I would put links to my stuff, but instead, it's all going to be about these bands. You'll be able to find their streaming platforms, websites, merch, multimedia, social media, any links I can find that's going to help you get to their music, get to connecting with them, chatting with them, whatever you want to do. Make it all easier. All right, we do have a special selection coming up. Actually, if you've watched this live, it came out like 25 minutes ago, but whatever. You can check that out. It's going to be some 10 Tricks Point Never, which it's an interesting artist. Always gives me something outside my comfort zone to talk about. Otherwise, I'll be back tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 10 p.m. UTC as usual. We're going to explore some more music. Until next time, remember to be critical, not cynical, of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening, whenever you choose to watch my videos.